want to help you find the clues in your calling. All of us have a calling of God, but sometimes when we go through the changes of life, you get married, or you're all having kids, or you're in a different career change, or moved away. All those things mean we're going to take on different roles in different seasons. And sometimes I've thought, is my calling different now? What I'd like to say is your calling is the same. God put a dream in your life to manifest it out, to see it come to fruition through faith in Him. But there are clues throughout the seasons to what your calling may be. Want to find out? Let's check it out together. My name is Matt. I'm a pastor in church ministry. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I call it Embrace Your Calling. I love to inspire you to discover and then develop and then manifest your calling out in the world, to fulfill that dream and to have the courage to look at it and put it out there for a test and see what God does. And so I hope this is inspirational to you. I hope I challenge you and I give you a couple of clues today to your calling. So please subscribe to my channel, like it, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, because I'd like to build this channel to really inspire more people who are trying to figure out their calling. So let me just tell you that I believe my informed theory from 52 years of living is the calling that God has put on you is the same calling. And yet it will look different in different seasons. It has to. When I was a single guy, I could fully devote myself for hours at the studio or at the piano or at the music thing. But when I got married, I had to think about our calling, not just my calling. So there's always a compromise when you get married, and then when you have kids, forget about it, because now your job as a parents is to help them in their calling. And then in your career, you're given 45, 50 hours a week to build the vision, the calling of the CEO, or in my case, the pastor, which is wonderful. And throughout my years, I've had different seasons, different roles, which sometimes was confusing for me of, I guess I don't get to do that call. Maybe I have a new calling right now. I think as I've evaluated my life, I can see that God's calling, His hand on my life, was the same throughout, but He was developing the calling through those seasons. My first calling, early as 5 years old, I was taking piano lessons. My dad was playing the piano in church. His mom, my grandma, was the organist. I came from a musical family. I was drawn to the piano. And then from there, it developed to singing and choir, and then to choir directing. And I was in music band. I played trumpet and piano and jazz band, concert band. And then I went to college to be a minister of music. Now, some of you are younger, like, what is a minister of music? Well, now they call it worship pastor, but in those days, with a full orchestra, a full youth choir, kids choir, music camps, music education, adult choirs, Christmas productions, Easter cantatas, all of these things. We had a July 4th patriotic, celebration. That was my calling. And so around, 33 years old, I was in a new church. I was in music ministry doing all those things, but my role was changing to plant a church and be a campus pastor with our church. And I remember going through probably about 2 years of an identity crisis. Like, I love this new season and this new calling, but I had to kind of give up the old calling and do less of that so I can do more of this. I could not do both. And so I was having to give this up, the thing that I was good at, that I loved, that I understood, to something I knew not of. The muscles were undeveloped, and I was having to step out in faith. But I remember the pastors that called me up into that new season, they said, Matt, we've noticed with the choir, you're a great pastor to the people. Love your musical ability. My goodness, on the piano and the choir. But the people follow you. And they also said, we see your initiative to start things without being assigned things. Like, I had started a gospel group. Yeah, I'm white. I was the only white person in the group. Everybody else was different nationalities and backgrounds, and we had the best time. I'm best friends with these people to this day. It was great. I love gospel music. I started vocal ensembles. I started men's quartets. I took a group of singers to the Kravis Center, which is the big performing arts center in downtown West Palm Beach, with Andy Williams for a Christmas thing, and then also Richard Smallwood, a famous gospel songwriter, piano player. And I would do we went to the convention center, we went to other churches, we went to other campuses, and they saw this initiative to bring people together, not just to pastor and care for them, but bring people together. Today's modern terminology is galvanize a team toward a mission. And so they saw this potential in me to pastor people, but build teams to pastor a church. And I thought, well, I didn't see that in myself. And at first I thought that's a very different calling than playing the piano, arranging music, and directing choir. I like to use my hands. My daughter makes fun of me. Dad, you're always using your hands. But I realized that the gifts of music and the ability to arrange music and put teams together for singing could translate to another area of building a church. That's the first clue that my calling was the same, but it was looking different in a new role, a new season. So let's just stop there with my little story I'm telling you. You may think, like me, my calling is to play the guitar or play the piano. My calling is to be a worship leader. And I would say that is an expression of your calling. That maybe your calling to be a musician or singer shows your sensitivity to the Holy Spirit in a different, more sensitive way than other people get it. We all are sensitive to the Holy Spirit, but some have a sensitivity of the presence of God, that they can sense what God is doing. It's the soft whisper, and they understand through art, through music, through painting, through dancing, whatever it is, musicianship. And so I learned that my musicality was not necessarily all that my calling was, but it was an expression of my sensitivity to feel people. I have an ability to feel what somebody is feeling without words. I've learned this. Here's a little coaching tip if you're a leader or pastor. When someone comes to you with a complaint or a question, that usually is not the issue. They may be saying the music's too loud, and the music is too loud. Let me just tell you from experience, there's something deeper going on there. And it doesn't mean you don't address it, but what you do is you keep asking questions and listen and get them in environments where they start opening up. And I've learned when I listen long enough and I start drawing out of them, really they're going through a marriage problem. And they're talking about the music. All we talk about is money at the church. Okay, that's a valid thing, but there's something else going on in their heart. So I learned that naturally because of my intuition with people and presence and God. And so whatever it is, if you are here doing this thing, I manage this, it may mean you can manage in a different place. You have a gift of management. That was the first clue. So let's go back to the story. So I become a campus pastor. I knew people, and I knew how to build teams. I immediately was building teams, but I was exhausted because I was leading everything. I had the ability to pastor and connect and galvanize people toward a mission, but I didn't know how to manage. That was budgets and deadlines and communication, or I didn't know strategy. And I really didn't know leadership. Leadership, I've learned this. And if you want to know what leadership is taking people from here to there. And I'm going to give credit where credit's due. My former boss and mentor, Katie Cole, said that. Katie Cole, shout out. She said, leadership is taking people from here to there. It says, where we're at is wonderful. and God has worked here. But we can't stay here because God has more for us, and we've got a new mountain to climb. And I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying this is better. And so let's go together. It's moving people out of comfort and familiar. It's Moses taking the people of Israel from Egypt to the Canaan land, but we got to go through the wilderness. Okay? And I didn't understand how to see more before, that's John Maxwell, and to lead. I didn't know how to manage. Peter Drucker talks about management. What good is it to lead a team if you can't manage the team? But I learned in this, through my 14 years as being a campus pastor, I learned if I would do three things, the campus would grow, the ministry would flourish, the team would flourish, everything would flourish. I learned to, if I love people, build teams, and develop leaders. That I did that 80% of the time. I focused myself. I eliminated noise. I let some things be average or maintained, and even a few things be bad. To say, if I learned, if I do these three things, love people, that's the pastoring in me, build teams, I could do that naturally, but develop leaders. And I learned over 14 years, and especially as I got older, let me say this. I was a leader and I was a pastor, but I learned I was a developer. And I love to pastor people, but I can't sit in counseling for hours and talk about your broken. That's for go to another, And leadership, I have intensity and initiative to build, but I always didn't have the clarity to know where we're supposed to go. I wasn't strategic. I wasn't as informed. Maybe I was a little lazy in that, but I learned I had this gift to develop. And part of where that came from is, for years, I had taught piano lessons, singing lessons. I had taught how to read music to the choir. And I just enjoyed not just loving people, but developing people's gift. That's where this video comes in. I love to develop and share and inspire. And when I see you take a step up and I get it, I'm like, that's my payoff. And so I started to realize if I develop leaders, the church wrote, we did so well at developing leaders that not only did our church in Martin County grow, 3 other churches launched from our church. And 3 families, couples from our church, my friends, went and launched those churches, and they're pastoring them today. And they're building their churches faster, bigger, more awesome than I ever could do. And then I replaced myself with some leaders with a 4th group of leaders. And then I had some people, I was just texting some friends who started an organization in Martin County for Gold Star families and their kids. I have a family I was with last week who has an anti-bullying in the schools and helping kids understand to speak life. There's so many people that launched. And so I realized my calling isn't to be a leader to go start my own business or church. My calling was to develop the leaders and to develop the pastors. So the second clue is you might be in a role where you're in position to lead or to decide, but don't hold on to that so tightly. If you feel like you're good at it or average at it or bad at it, don't be discouraged. Rather say, what do I do naturally? See how I turn it on your head. Say, I'm in this role, because many times if you're an insurance salesman, if you're at the school district as a teacher, if you're a pastor, if you're whatever in law enforcement, you think you got to fit in this box and look like him and her and feel like that, but you are unique. So the second clue is to look at your uniqueness within the role and start to spend more time in your strength and your passion than you do fulfilling the role. Now, let's be careful. I'm not saying don't be responsible, do what's required of you, do it with joy, stretch. Don't make excuses. Well, that's not my gift, so I won't do it. No, that's irresponsible. I've had to do a lot of things that were out of my zone. But what I'm saying is your superpower is not fitting and forming into everybody else's armor. My wife and I are watching House of David, the story of King David, and he puts on the King Saul's armor, and then he says, this isn't me. And I love that. So don't confine yourself to somebody else's profile because they're great at it. Say, I'm learning from them, but I'm different. Your calling is the same because every role and season you're in, you feel different. That's the second clue. Be all right with different. Apple founder Steve Jobs says, think different. I'm reading a book right now about Elon Musk because I'm so inspired by him. He is, we know, different. And so don't be weird, don't be creepy, be teachable, be open, learn. But the second clue is be different and be unique and be out of the box, because I really realized that I was having more of an effect if I would develop leaders. And so I realized I could pastor. I've been some leaders, but I really enjoyed developing. So I moved into another role, and now I'm in a role now where I am full-time spending time with our church's leaders. We have about 400 staff people, but I'm also focused on the volunteer leaders and future leaders of our church, because I realize if I can transfer this calling to lead, to pastor, to build, then I could multiply myself. I think the third character trait that I started to realize about myself was I may not be that alpha dog leader. I'm not that type A. I have some of that, but I have some B in me. And I think I frustrate some of my A friends. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit more chill. I just want to have my LaCroix and my cap, and So I'm a little different, but I am a builder. I'm not a great manager. I'm a great builder. And not everybody is a builder, I've learned. And so building means seeing what could be. And it's building new formations and new foundations that things can be built on. It's a different work than just managing property. I just walked through my neighborhood. This is a newer house we're in. I love this. Is like my little studio, and we were the first builders in the studio, and it's right near our church, Christ Fellowship Stewart Campus. And I'm walking today, and now they're building a whole set of houses over there. So my wife and I walk there with our dog, and it's just fun I even walked through a couple of houses today just to see. It's kind of fun to see new houses, and it's fun to see a development be built up from nothing. The landscape, and they build it up, and there's a clubhouse and our house. Because when you go to other neighborhoods, it's just about maintaining it. It's making sure the air filters change and the air condition works and the roof's new and the paint's different. And by the way, there's no use to build something if you don't maintain it, because you won't have it left. So it's not that management is less than building, but what I'm talking about is I realized that I'm a builder, and that I'll do my best work. God has been putting me through the years in new areas, not to start. I'm not necessarily a pioneer. See, that's another thing is I thought maybe I'm supposed to pioneer something. That's what Elon Musk has done. That's what Donald Trump has done. Others have done. And I'm inspired by that. I love to spend time with men and women that have started a business or organization. But I have had just to pray and learn and say, that isn't for me. What I can do is take an idea, take a business or a church, and I can build it. One of my favorite scripture verses is in the Gospels, that Jesus said that there was a master that gave his servants talents. You've heard this. 1 talent, 2 talents, 5 talents. And I won't go through the whole thing, but it's the parable of the talents. Did you take what I gave you and build on it? Or did you just manage it and hide it? And I love that, because I like to think every week after I've had a work week at home in my life, I have to say what's bigger, what's better, what's built because of my work and energy today. That helps me evaluate. I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm spinning my wheels. I'm doing the same things with the same people and nothing's getting done. I like to be bigger, better, built. And so you have to know if you're a builder. If you're not a builder, if you're a manager, that's great. I have a lot of people that are great managers. In fact, I value managers because I need people to manage what I'm building. I need people to put processes and systems in place and check balances in place and verify. So I've learned to manage budgets and things, but that drains me. I'm average at that. I go and I build people and I build projects in ministry. So now I'm realizing I don't necessarily have to be a senior pastor or campus pastor. Don't have to be a music person anymore, although I do some music. I like to build on an idea. What is it for you? As I've taken you through my long process here to share my story, I hope it's inspired you to say, what is it about me? My wife is very different than me, Kelly. She is a planner. She is a host. She has the gift of hospitality and designing a home or a space with all the designs and the things and beauty and elegance, and it smells right and the thing is right, the candles are lit and the people, it's just amazing. She has a gift of planning and hosting. And that's very different than me. So find what your calling is, and even though you change through seasons and times, keep looking for the clues of, I'm a builder. I love people. I build teams. I develop others. And for me, that was that. For my wife, it's serving people. It's hospitality. It's planning. It's designing. It's creating environments. What is it for you? Because if you step into your calling and keep working on it, you're going to be a rare treasure that people are going to say, could I spend time with you? Hey, I hope this helps you. Find the clues in your calling and join me next time.